I know it's going to come as a shock to you, but upwards of 80% of the divorces are filed by the wife. Why is that? Why do so many more women file for divorce than men? That's what we're getting into today in this video. We're not only going to look at the statistics behind that, but we're going to look at the real reasons why this is happening, so that if you're in a situation where it's kind of heading in that direction, maybe there's still some time to save it and turn things around. That's what we're going to get into today. Hi, I'm Jeff Campbell from DivorcedParentsClub.com, and I'm on a mission to help other parents who are going through divorce or separation. Maybe they're already divorced, maybe they're dealing with kids from the divorce. I'm on a mission to help them navigate these troubled waters that I am navigating right now. I'm learning things every day and talking to experts every day, and what I'm learning as I go, I'm passing on to you in these videos. So I hope they help you, and if you have an idea for a future video, leave me that in a comment down below. I promise right now, at least, I can get to it. But let's keep going and looking at the real reasons behind this astronomical figure that 80% of divorces are filed by the wife. And by the way, I didn't just make that figure up. That figure comes from the National Center for Health Services. They're the ones who did the research. They're the ones who put those findings out. So it is definitely true. But why is that? Well, one of the things is that men's priorities are often skewed. I know in the early stages of my marriage, I thought my number one job was to provide for my family by having a good, well-paying job. I thought that was the most important thing for me. My wife would stay home with the kids and raise the kids, and I'd come home and have dinner with everybody and play with the kids on the weekend and maybe take the wife out occasionally. I thought that was my role. And I guarantee you, your wife doesn't think that's your role if you're the guy. And I've since learned over the years that's not my role. Now, I don't want you to mistake that for meaning that you can be financially irresponsible, because that's an issue as well that we're going to get into in just a minute. But I do want you to have a more balanced perspective. You've got to do more than just provide financially. You've got to provide emotional support, physical support, romantic support for your wife as well. You've got to balance all these things, and I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying it's necessary. The next one is that women sometimes feel held back in a marriage. This is especially true if she stayed home to be with the kids. Women who are stay-at-home moms, some of them love that job. Others don't love that job and feel really deprived and like they put their life on hold basically for the sake of the family. I know my ex felt that way, even though it was her decision to do that. And I think it is the right decision for somebody to stay home for at least the first few years of a child's life so that they're not being raised in daycare or by nannies. I do think that's crucial. I don't necessarily think it has to be the wife. I think whoever is the lesser breadwinner is probably the right choice, but I do think somebody should stay home. But in my wife's case, she chose that role. And it was a role that she wanted to do. And it wasn't something I forced on her. But she did later come to resent it and feel like she had put her life on hold, even though she didn't really have a clear path that she was on at the time when I met her. It was basically couch surfing. But she did later come to resent it, and then that resentment was focused on me, even though I really didn't have anything to do with that decision. So I mentioned financial stress a second ago, and that is, in fact, usually in the top 3 reasons for divorce is financial turmoil. And it could be that the husband is an excellent breadwinner, but he's not good at managing the money that he makes. He's not good at budgeting. He's not good at spending. He's not good at impulse control. And maybe the couple has racked up astronomical debt, and they're constantly getting calls from debt collectors, and they're getting past due notices in the mail, and maybe getting eviction notices, or maybe getting the power shut off, and she just gets fed up and can't deal with it anymore. At the end of the day, women need to feel safe. And instability of any kind, emotional, financial, or otherwise, is going to rob her of that feeling of safety. And when she doesn't feel safe, then she's going to shut down, and her feelings for you are going to begin to diminish, and eventually they're going to go away completely. So financial stability is a crucial part of marriage. Now, that doesn't mean it has to fall to the husband to pay the bills and do the budgeting. It could be that the wife is much better at that and better suited for that, in which case, hand it off to her by all means. But somebody needs to do it, and somebody needs to be responsible for it. Before we keep going though, if you like this video, please hit that like button and the subscribe button and the bell notification button too. That way you get notified of future videos I put out just like this one. But let's keep going for right now. The next big one that I see happening, and I know I was guilty of this as well, is becoming complacent. Men tend to become complacent in their marriage. They think everything's fine, you know. They got the house, the white picket fence, they got the kids, they got the nice car, go on nice vacations, and they just assume that that's enough. And for the average woman, that is not enough. Back in the days when you were dating, you were courting your wife. You were actively courting her. You were not only spending money on her, but giving her attention and love, and you were trying to win her over. And oftentimes, as guys, we stop doing that the moment that we say I do. And it's not because we don't care, it just gets pushed down on our priority list and we become complacent. And I know I was guilty of that too. But really, until you get into the grave, at the end of your life, you need to be actively courting and dating your wife each and every week, making her feel special, planning date nights, going on date nights, being the man in the relationship and leading the relationship, and making her feel safe, like I mentioned earlier, but also making her feel loved and feel special. And that just doesn't happen if you're complacent and take her for granted. The next one, of course, is cheating. And I know it's not a surprise to you, but men cheat more than women, significantly more. Upwards of 10% more of the affairs out there are committed by a husband versus a wife. Both partners do definitely commit affairs, but men are far more likely to have an affair than a woman. And for many wives, that's a deal breaker, especially if it happens multiple times with multiple women. In my case, unfortunately, I did actually cheat on my wife almost a decade ago, and not something I'm proud of by any means. The affair lasted about 2 months, and I was luckily able to rebuild our marriage after that. We even renewed our wedding vows after that and really got back to a place where it was a non-issue. Took a lot of work on her part and my part, and not something that I'm ever willing to do again. But affairs are definitely a big reason that drive women to want to divorce far more than men, because so many more men have the affairs. And then lastly, men tend to become emotionally unstable over time. A woman needs to feel safe in her relationship. She's looking for the man to be her rock. Now, that doesn't mean emotionally unavailable, because that is also a number one complaint that women have about men. But emotionally available doesn't mean you're losing your shit. It doesn't mean you're constantly crying and asking her to put on the notebook. It just means that you're strong and you're centered. You're able to express yourself. You're able to listen without just waiting your turn to talk and without wanting to feel that urge to fix whatever her problem is every time she comes to you. She wants to feel safe. And the way that she feels safe is by you maintaining your masculine frame and composure, listening to her, asking her questions, really hearing what she has to say, and not just wanting to fix it and so you can end the conversation, and not just getting fed up with her and yelling and slamming doors and things like that. You've got to, if you're the guy, you've got to be emotionally centered at all times. That's what makes her feel safe. And when she doesn't feel safe, she's eventually going to leave. Now, the interesting thing about women, aside from the fact that 80% of the time they're the ones filing for divorce, is women typically don't leave or ask for a divorce until their feelings for you are completely gone. In other words, you might not know that they're feeling this way, but because they won't tell you. By the time they ask for that divorce, they're done. And it may come as a total shock to you. It did to me. But they work through those feelings, and the feelings slowly dissipate, maybe over a year or two, or maybe longer. And then once they're done, they're done. And there's almost no coming back from that, with a few exceptions. But for the most part, they don't tell you what's going on. So as a man, you've got to be kind of in tune. You've got to pick up on their body language and their energy. And are they acting different? Are they seeming less interested? And you've got to open them back up again, but But you've also got to remember to make sure that they feel safe, heard, and understood. And that will go a long way towards rekindling their feelings for you, because feelings can go either way. They can lose their feelings for you and they can rebuild their feelings for you. It's not an open and shut case. It can go either way. And as long as it's not too late, you can still save your marriage. Anyway, I hope this video helps you. Again, if it did, hit that like button, subscribe, and bell notification. But for now, I'll see you in the next video.